I call it the inner peace process. And it is amazing for any time you feel triggered to have a step-by-step process that you can take that through to go to the source of it and see where you need the most love, support, and safety. It might be the inner 4-year-old or your 10-year-old that went through something challenging. That part of you feels like lost and essentially needs to be rescued.
Hello, hello, beautiful people on the other side of this podcast. Welcome to another epic episode of High Vibin It. As always, we are here to help you live your best life. So here we are. We have a very special guest today, Mr. Charles Clay, who is an inner peace coach and healer. And I can already tell you just from knowing him for 5 seconds that he has a lovely energy, and I'm sure he'll have lots of great wisdom and insights to bring to you all today. So without further ado, Charles, please say hi to the peeps and introduce yourself.
Hey, happy to be here. What an honor, pleasure. Look forward to diving in.
Yes.
Charles, already we love you, but let's go into, in case anybody isn't familiar with you or your work, what is it that you love doing? How did you get into it? Just give us the long or the short of it. We're here for it all.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, my story has been one from pain to purpose. And in that alignment, I learned the hard way on a lot of things so that I could teach an easier way. And so now I get the honor of helping people with everything from anxiety to finding the source of physical pain and even deep generational wounds and trauma, gaining the lessons and blessings from all that.
Right. Reading through your form that you filled out, you give the little questionnaire of like things that you love to do and how you help people the most. What came up that was intriguing to me is, yes, generational. I know you mentioned abandonment wounds, so we can get into that as well, but generational trauma is a big one. And the fact that you had us take a breath before the show, Patreon people will know this, but listeners of the podcast may not have gotten this part, but he, make you take a breath before the show and kind of relax and release anything that happened right before the call. And interestingly, I was in my head, I was like, this is perfect timing because I'm dealing with not my personal, it's my family members' generational stuff. And I'm just immediately walking into my office. I was like, yeah, that's some generational trauma going on right there. Got to heal that trauma. But it's very interesting that we have you today, literally within minutes of me having to kind of navigate that. But let's talk about a little bit about that, because I know that you talk a lot about trapped emotions, trapped trauma, I guess. How, from your perspective in your work, how does that get trapped in us? Let's say my grandmother, grandfather, few generations back had some ish go down. How does that translate into my body for those that don't know?
It's a great question. And just to follow up with sharing what you're experiencing, there's that saying, if you think you're enlightened, just spend a week with your family.
Right.
So true.
Bruh, this is not a joke.
And it's because like it's the ones we love, it's our family that really knows how to push our buttons,
Yeah.
and so those buttons that get pushed, like we call them the triggers, the frustration we feel, anger, even grief and sadness, like all these things that are getting accessed by others, it feels like oftentimes we want to point the finger and be like, it's your fault I'm pissed off, and there's always these fingers pointing back to the source of that.
Ooh, that's a good one. It's true.
Yeah. It's a gateway to deeper healing, every time we get triggered. And so, so that goes all the way back to, we can be specific with the generational wounds. I think one that a lot of people can relate to is the abandonment wound, and this is like so many generations. That's like the father or the mother, leaves, circumstances, what be it. And then the young child is left, wondering why they left. And it's a lot to deal with at a young age. And so at that young age, oftentimes we're not taught on how to fully process the emotions that we're going through. And you think now it's like, yeah, well, loss, grief, as adults, we're pretty familiar with those realms of feelings for the most part. But think about the first time or the first like third time that you felt those intense emotions and not knowing what to do with it. Oftentimes we resist it. And so that resisting feelings is what ends up being trapped as issues in our tissues. And then
I like it.
and that ultimately will keep showing up as, you know, pain in the body, or it can show up as the consistent triggers, recognizing the patterns. And as we eventually raise our awareness, recognize, wow, I've been experiencing this a lot. You know, it might be the heartbreak with your partners, right? If that's the story that keeps playing out, well, oftentimes we create some stories and decisions we make about ourselves at that early age when we're going through these challenges and feel that loss for the first time. We create stories like, wow, I must not be worthy of love, or I must not be good enough because my
Right.
or dad left me, right? And so these seem like silly beliefs that we don't resonate with now, but these are deeply ingrained. And this is the generational stuff that's been going on, you know, throughout the human experience, that having a tool and a practice, a process to go into the source and allow yourself to finally metabolize that energy and gain some clarity on the other side of that, and be able to pull those negative subconscious beliefs and those blocks and plant some deeper seeds of truth. That is one of the greatest skills, abilities that you can have as an evolving human being. And so that's
Yeah.
the majority of my work. And again, I learned this the messy, hard way so that I can teach an easier way and a really easy to digest process for this. I call it the inner peace process. And it is amazing for any time you feel triggered to have a step-by-step process that you can take that through to go to the source of it and see where you need the most love, support, and safety. You know, it might be the inner 4-year-old or your 10-year-old that went through something challenging. There, that part of you feels like lost and essentially needs to be rescued. And we get to reparent ourselves through this process, supply that love, support, and safety to those parts of us. And it's amazing what this work opens up, you know, allowing
Yeah.
those tears to fall, allowing, you know, that expression of those emotions to move through us opens up. Like, this has been what so many people find like the block to their abundance and their next level of wealth and success can be just like repressed grief. It's really fascinating how it's all interconnected. And so what a beautiful thing to have a process that you can choose instead of when you're getting triggered and the anger comes up or the frustration. It's like, oh, I can let the mind's band-aids take over and go into default programming, which is usually like go to the fridge, stuff it with something, or get on a scroll hole on Instagram, see if I can find some dopamine there, right? And these, or Netflix,
Amazon.
yeah, buying, yeah, buying stuff on Amazon. Or a lot of people I work with, it's doing. It's like, oh, I
Yeah.
just get back to work and just stay focused on my work, which is, you know, it makes sense because that's what we've received the badge of, like, oh, you're a doer, you're a hustler, you're always busy, you're working really hard, the grindstone, you know, this is in our society what's been, you know, validated as worthy. And so that's where a lot of people basically avoid those deeper level painful emotions by doing or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, escaping. And so what a beautiful thing to have a process that I guide people through so they can get the experiential learning, and then they see how powerful it is, and then they can use their own take home version of that. It is a game changer for, you know,
Yeah.
the source of these triggers and learning the lessons and blessings from it.
I will say, going back to the inner child thing, one of the best things I've ever done for myself in terms of healing, growth, all of it is making a commitment and even just an agreement with my inner child that, look, what do you need? I got you. What do you need? I will be what we didn't have. And I just it can be so simple. Like, it doesn't have to be, it usually is because it's inner child. You can't really think about inner child without like, but it can be so simple. It can be just, what do you need? What do you need?
Mm.
And I got you. I will do that for you because it's easy. First of all, anything your inner child needs is probably peace, protection, grace, love, relax, just take a break, go sit down. Sometimes that's honoring your inner child. And that's like the hardest one for me to do, but it really is a game changer. So I want to ask you, Charles, what is one of the things that you wish you knew early on, or one of the things that you wish someone had like given you before you had to learn the hard way? Because I know there's a value in learning however you learn, but I know for me, one of the things that I wish I knew early is just be what you need for your inner child.
Yeah,
period.
absolutely. Yeah, I would say, a couple things. There's a list. One that comes to heart is just knowing that it's okay to feel more instead of always trying to feel better with all the biohacks and all the, ways of elevating your state and all these cool like tricks we have to feeling better in the moment. But like by avoiding those big boulders, like the common denominator emotions that keep coming up, if we bypass that, it just keeps showing up. It keeps getting triggered.
Yeah.
Our family members, by the guy cutting you off on the road or whatever it may be, it'll keep pointing to what is no longer in harmony with our highest and greatest self so that we can take a look at it. And that's when it begins to dissolve. It's like that which we resist just persists, but that which we allow ourselves to feel, we can heal. And so it's really beautiful because I just remember, learning a lot of my lessons from death early on. The woman I love most, my mom, she we lost her when I was 10, and she battled with depression, anxiety, and had a scarcity mindset, and was an alcohol, and that was kind of her go-to was alcohol. And so we would come home from school sometimes and have to like pour out her booze and just take care of her while she's like borderline passed out. And it wasn't, it was pretty rare, but it was still like a lot to deal with as kids, and especially for the one that we love the most, it was this genuine worry for her. And so when we found out that she took her own life, I was 10 years old, and it was just like getting hit in the stomach by a baseball bat, like over and over again, is the easiest way I could describe it. And anybody that's felt that kind of loss at such a young age, it's so profound. And I remember sitting next to my brother at my own mom's funeral, trying so hard not to cry, because I had picked up this belief that, oh, we're guys, I hung out with older kids and they're all about being cool, and, crying's for girls, and that's a sign of weakness. You can't show that. And so those beliefs I picked up, that was me resisting those feelings. And so this was stuff that I had to, you can't escape it. Like, it's not like wherever you are, wherever you go, there you are, and you're still bringing this with you. It doesn't go away until we go to the source of it and heal it. And so that opened up so many lessons and blessings for me, finally letting those tears fall and getting to express, even the anger of, letting my 10-year-old express anger. Like, he never got to feel that back then. It was almost like this anger that I didn't feel like I had permission to feel, because it was, not good behavior by societal standards, right? And so eventually coming to terms and improving my relationship with anger has been really beautiful, because it's this deep recognition of like, man, what a beautiful emotion to declare what we're no longer willing to tolerate anymore, to help create our boundaries, and so it's been this like deep primal rage that I was able to constructively process, with things like boxing. And when I checked in with my 10-year-old, doing this work, he was like Incredible Hulk. He wanted to break some stuff,
Mhm.
we were in the middle of a move, and I was like, well, let's give you permission to do that then. And we had some old furniture and stuff. So I took these chairs and just smashed them out on the sidewalk, and it felt so good. It was super liberating. And so it was like I had bypassed that aspect of grieving. And so it was kept getting poked and prodded until I went to the source of that and allowed myself to feel it. And these feelings come in layers, but each one reveals a deeper clarity, and some of these lessons about ourselves. And so it was like connecting with that part of me on such a deeper level, giving myself permission for that. And that opened up a lot in my life just after that
Mhm.
experience. And then knowing like, hey, if I have a family and two girls now, I have this primal rage, this anger that can be accessed if needed. It's very important for protecting family, and so that gives me peace of mind, knowing that I can access that and channel that into something constructive, if need be. And that's been a game changer. It's something that I wish I would have known a little earlier on, And the second thing would be, just how much our thoughts that we identify with create our feelings and our reality and our experience.
Like, you have kids. It
Mhm.
is so important to me. I'm a hypnotherapist. My work is the subconscious. Like, my entire life is how powerful your mind is. Like, look at you go. Look at you believing you can't do it. See? Can't. What would happen if you use that for you know what I mean? Like, I am constantly trying to teach my kids how important, because I agree 100%. It was one of those things that, like, gosh, if only they would have taught us this younger, that I actually have a choice in what I think, that I'm not stuck in my beliefs. I can move out of it at any time. Could be
Yeah.
harder or easier, but you can. Like, it is so important to me. I don't know how old your kids are, but are they of an age where you are able to really kind of, I mean, any age really, right?
Sure. Yeah, you can't start young enough with this.
Yeah.
My oldest is about to be 3, Sophia, Pearl, and Everly. Opal is about to be 9 months. So
Wow.
they're just
Wait,
like
are they wait, what did you say? How old?
9 months and almost 3 years old.
Almost 3 years. Okay, gotcha. I was like, I didn't hear the 3 years. I was like, you have matching gemstone
Yeah,
twin girls. That is amazing.
yeah. They're some of my greatest teachers and my
Yes.
inspiration for sure. When I get triggered, my stuff comes up, instead of choosing the mind's band-aids and avoiding and, stuffing it down, it's an opportunity for me. They inspire me to take my own
Yeah.
medicine, to take it through this inner peace process, to discover the lessons in it, allow myself to metabolize, take responsibility for my emotions, and then I can respond to the situation with more neutrality and what's actually needed, and without bringing my projections of anger or frustration or whatever it may be feeling it to the table. And this is one of the greatest things we can do for our family, because every time we heal a layer of that generational wound, we release old negative programs and these subconscious beliefs. That's less baggage, 3D debris, I call it, that our kids have to carry on.
Yes.
It's like doing them the greatest favor ever, because imagine what's possible when we show up for
Mm.
this level of healing, and then our kids are free of all of that. They can choose their highest path without having to hold
Yeah.
on to this like potent abandonment wound, and even if that is their path, they'll gain their lessons and blessings from that too. But I want to just clear the path for the greatest
Yeah.
imagination, and just watching these little souls light up. Like, it's our future's looking really bright.
Yeah.
Charles, I have to, Kelsey, I'm so sorry. I know
I
I keep
haven't talked
like,
for 20
I
minutes.
have,
It's fine.
I have so much because Charles, you don't know this, but you and I have extremely similar childhoods, to the point where, like, what you're describing, being the one to take care of the caregiver, first of all, and alcoholism and all sorts of everything. My mother, I love her. We all we love our mothers. Okay. I think that goes without saying, but she would threaten. Your mother followed through. My mother would threaten. And it was all the time. And get it together, Lindsay. But what I wanted to say is this. At 10 years old, I went to live with my father because my mother had to skip town, needless to say. And please, nobody show her this episode because I don't really talk about her. But I feel like I had it's an abandonment thing too, in a different way, because my mother was like, no matter what happened, she was like the most important person in my life. And to have her like not there was so hard. And I just feel for you so much because I didn't have to go through what you went through, but it is very hard. But anyway, what I wanted to say is this. We are very similar. I feel for you. I 100% like feel the same. I feel the same as everything you're describing. And this is my point. When I had children, my mother was very good at teaching me what not to do. And my dad too, to some extent. He has his own stuff, but at least I felt safe. You know what I mean? Like I felt taken care of with my dad. But I knew instinctively, I don't know that I needed to be taught this, but I guess I did. I knew what not to do with my kids. And I knew how to show them every day that they were important and loved and taken care of. And I just wonder if that was the case for you. I'm sure it was, but like when you have kids and you have somebody to take care of, it's like I'm healing simply by sending them to school with like clean clothes. Or guys, I'm losing it, but you know what I'm trying to say. I Kelsey's so proud of me. I know she is. I don't talk about stuff about me like this on the show, but just showing my kids that they don't have to worry about that is so healing and so powerful. And it's not an accident that there's another parent on the show who has such a similar experience to mine that can maybe attest to this and maybe like be another voice that's like, yeah, you can heal through just heal your inner child through teaching your children and through loving your children the way that they deserve. And do you know what I'm trying to say? Am I just rambling at this point? I feel like I am, but
I actually really appreciate your truth and you sharing that and feel deeply connected to that. And it's incredible because when we allow ourselves to feel that and to let those tears
yeah,
and even show that that's okay for our children, like
yes.
my
I
little
have 3 boys and I'm
oh,
always like, cry it out, cry for as
yeah,
long as you want, like get it out, kid. Like, because
yeah,
I know what you mean. Boys were not so much anymore. I hope. I think it's getting better, but yeah, we're taught so differently as boys and girls.
yeah. I mean, Sophia is just such a incredible, sacred space holder already innately. She's like, Dada, are you sad? Oh, she'll come over and I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling sad. And she'll like give me a big hug. She'll go grab like her favorite animals and give me her unicorn and like all these. It's so sweet like to witness. And if I was repressing those emotions and just trying to be stoic all the time, then I would miss out on this deep connection, and permission for her to feel what she
Yes.
feels too. And so it's always an opportunity. And then when we do this powerful work of reparenting and getting to connect with those parts of us that need the most love, support, and safety, then it's like we get to rewrite the entire story, Like, yes, my mom, took her life at 10, but that also allowed me to see like how beautiful life is, by being that close to death and of someone that I love. It helped me recognize like the temporariness of all this, and so there's just been so many lessons and blessings that have come from that, one of which is I got 10 years of incredibly vivid memories with my mom and my brother growing up. Like she took us to the ocean every summer and had like just these exquisite memories that I cherish forever. And so that's 10 years I'm grateful for, that a lot of people don't even get that
Yeah.
with some of their parents. And so there's a deep appreciation. And of course, as we uh, extend and expand on our spiritual journey, like recognizing like, wow, I've gotten to connect with my mom in so many ways now. First time I asked for a sign, she came to me in a butterfly, and literally just like as soon as I asked, there was this beautiful butterfly just doing circles around me. And I was like, wow, of course she loved butterflies, collected them, and did butterfly stained glass art and all this cool stuff. So it was this, it's helped expand my awareness of all the layers to this human experience and how connected we are with even our lost ones. I can remember sitting with Everly in the womb. It's like my little girl is just, she's like 8 months, and the belly just looks so beautiful, and Mama B, and I just had my hand on her and I was singing to her, and it's like this deep connection that we have with this sweet little baby that's in the womb that can't see me, but she can experience my vibration, hear me, and vice versa, all through this little thin layer, this veil of skin between her and I, that are still experiencing each other, just can't see each other. And so it hit me. It was like, wow, well, here we are in this realm, and there's this thin layer between us and all of our, former forefathers and mothers, and our family and past that are, still communicating with us, we're open to receive those messages. And so it's really beautiful to get to connect with my mom in that way and recognize, like, she even shared with me that in a healing session that she said, you're ready to hear this now. And I took my own life because I knew I was in such a dark place that I couldn't show up the way I wanted to for you and your brother. And I knew I would miss out on all the, important things. And I didn't want to miss out on any of that. And I wanted to be there for you always. And so she gets to do that from where she's at now in spirit. And
maybe not something a 10-year-old could process, but certainly
exactly.
when the time is right.
Right. And so that just, opened up new layers in my heart and understanding too, in this connection with her, as a guide. And so it's been really beautiful, the lessons and blessings that have come from such a tragic experience, and getting to rewrite that story is so profound. And that's what I help others with. If it's just pain showing up in your body, that's physical reoccurring injuries, I've dealt with that, and that's put me on this huge trajectory to my purpose. And so I appreciate pain as a teacher. It's like that is usually pointing to some repressed emotions that haven't allowed ourselves to feel. And there's also some metaphysics involved. What's going on in our life? Our body's so intelligent. It's highlighting what needs to be, taken care of. It's like a check engine light. Pain. I call it pay attention inward now. And so I help people gain those lessons and blessings as to how this is happening for them. And then improve that relationship with the body. And you can understand these messages on a profound level, so that now you can pay attention to like the little feather instead of the equivalent of getting hit with a Mack truck, the pain. And what a game changer that is. It just allows for so much more ease and grace, and endless blessings.
Yeah, I was just thinking this whole time, like, maybe he looks so familiar to me because I see so much of myself in you, because a lot of my work is helping people to feel more, not less, right? And I think in this spiritual community and law of attraction 101, it's like you have to be happy all the time, like only positive vibes, only good vibes, only think good thoughts. Like if you even entertain a negative thought, like something bad's going to happen to you. And obviously we know now that's not true. We're always debunking that on the show. And something that you said earlier, I love the issues and the tissues part. And also I'm just like, this man, he speaks in rhymes and poems. I love it.
I love it. Yeah. He's got all the good slogans.
Yes, all the good slogans. But it's so true that it's not what we do feel, even if it's negative, that's holding us back. It's what we don't feel, right? Because any form of resistance is still resistance, even if you're resisting yourself, even if you're resisting your feelings. And I think a lot of the time in the manifestation space, it's like people only think about resisting in the context of what they want. Like, oh, maybe a part of me is resisting what I really want consciously, but subconsciously I'm not on board. And it's like, yeah, you could be resisting that, Or you could be resisting what happened to you before, something that you just can't accept was the reality. You could be resisting an emotion that's trying to come up and come through and come out and gift you a personal truth. But if you don't even give it the time of day, you ain't going to access that personal truth. So I think it's really beautiful work that you're doing. And I feel like every single thing you said is like 1,000,000,000%
Yeah.
true. So I'm just here to amen. Preach, brother.
I appreciate that reflection. And it's to get to witness dreams coming true from this
Mhm.
work, that what's possible on the other side of choosing this healing process is profound. I work with a lot of real estate agents, many of which are, on the financial roller coaster ride. And so getting, one example was like getting to reconnect with the younger version of one of my clients that recognized, like, wow, my younger self like really loves roller coaster rides. And so like here's this financial experience still showing up, and sometimes that inner 5-year-old was like running the show
Right.
when things
Mhm.
got tough. And so we got this like 5-year-old at the wheel running the business when the challenges are met, right? So getting to support that part of herself, using this process layer by layer, feeling through what was repressed, opened up like so much in her experience. And all of a sudden she's like, this is an 8-week initiation, very deep dive intensive work, and she became an overnight sensation and was like the top in her region for her sales numbers and finding people their dream homes. And so it's just really beautiful to get to witness the ripple effect of this type of work, and reminding people that you are your own greatest healer.
Hey there. We hope you're enjoying this episode so far, but if you want to listen to the whole thing, we're going to invite you over to our podcast. Either search for High Vibin It on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you guys listen to podcasts, or even better, if you want to watch the extended video version of this episode that's even longer than the actual podcast itself, head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/highvibe. Lindsay, tell them what's awesome about the Patreon.
Patreon is where we have all of our extended episodes. As Kelsey said, we have it on video, so you can actually see the things that we're talking about. Sometimes we have visual aids, and it's nice to know what we're talking about. We also have hangouts that we do sometimes that are exclusive to Patreon people. And you can get started with all of this and bonus content and everything that we have only for the Patreon people for as little as $3. I think it's $3.33 a month. And that's it. And you guys can get all the benefits and all access to everything that we put in there. Really
Yeah.
cool.
It's really cool, really fun, super easy to join. And you guys don't even have to do that to finish this episode. If you're like, screw it, I don't want to pay any money, I just want to hear the rest of this episode, go to our podcast, High Vibin It, search for it wherever you listen. It's totally free. Either way, enjoy the rest of the show wherever you choose to enjoy it. And we will see you guys next week because we do a new one every week. Adios.
Bye.